Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarnes, Randall Quiggle, Tony G, Tom the Superhero, Studstill Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Raging Demon from Command List, Mast Keaton, JC, Ozzy Garcia, Megan Caruso, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, Retro Overdrive, Soha, Storm Beagle and Captain N from Retrotopia, The Emperor, Matt aka Stormageddon from Funning Games and Reignite Podcasts, Van Fernal and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Breland, Keith Gasper from the Main Quest Podcast, Retro Vixen, Eric Guess from the Unlockables Podcast, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands Podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alt, Low 5 Alex from Low 5 Gaming, Oh Me, Gary Heather, Makeshift Money, Riskel, Sega Boy 7, and Adam R. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated. Welcome to The Flight, a consumable curation of champions and catastrophes that is considerate of your chronometer. It is I, Chris Copleen, and this is the Retro Hangover Podcast's The Flight. And today we're battling it out, and I am battling it out with your host, with the girthiest most, Shane Dick Dragon Celtaire. Hi, Shane.
Hey, so when you say you're battling it out with me, is that like co-op with me or PvP with me? It could be either.
What zone are we in?
Goldshire.
I don't know what that means. Is that WoW?
Yeah.
Is that a PvP area?
No, I don't think it is.
Oh,
no, I think that's like the human
PvE.
starting zone. I'm pretty sure. I never played Alliance
we're
because
PvEing,
that's the lame faction, but you know.
Yeah, it is. Horde's better. Shaman, Tauren Shaman for the win. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of battle systems, that is one game that will not be making an appearance on my list, at least. We are here to be talking about RPG battle systems. What is our favorite? I'm you know what? I'm pretty sure we're going to have quite a divergence here, just based on our own taste and what we think RPGs are. I'm guessing you're going to be leaning more into the Western RPG or character-based RPG, and I know I'm going to be leaning more to the JRPG. Is that pretty accurate?
Kind of. I don't know. I think it might be more similar than you think.
Oh, should be interesting. Well, let's get this kicked off. And you know what? I'll just take the opportunity to nab this one first and just go with it. I'm going to go into my number 5.
Number 5.
So this is something that I think many people are going to find shockingly low for me. I mean, but there are only 5. So, and this had to be somewhere. But I'm going to go with the active time battle system from Final Fantasy 4 through 9. In many ways, I kind of view this battle system as almost the default. But when I really pull back and look at everything, it's just because I played a shitload of Final Fantasy. It's really not the default in anything. I love the fact that now that I'm older, I can truly appreciate what they were trying to do. Because back then, this was really more of my introduction to what role-playing games were. And this I guess that's why I view it as the default. But I love the franticness. I love the fact that you always gotta be on your feet, that when a turn comes up, you have to make a decision quickly, or it can end in disaster for you. And it's really a counterpoint to what the main competitor of Final Fantasy and Squaresoft was at the time over at Enix with Dragon Quest, which was strictly turn-based. This is really a full-blown evolution of that system, and I think it works fantastically well. and it's relatively seamless. This is a great battle system for role playing games. It really gets the player involved without it being, too fast paced. It still allows them to make decisions, especially because you can select weight. I do think it kind of falls off a cliff with Final Fantasy IX, which is the reason I kind of don't like that game as many other people do. It's because the battle system is way too slow, and that kind of applies to 7 and 8 as well. But for the most part, it's a fast-paced, fast-moving battle system that I greatly appreciate and really set the standard for a lot of role-playing games. The Japanese side, at least, for years, even to this day. So that's my number 5. It's great.
Nice. It's a solid pick. There's a little bit of a time there where it was actually on my list as well, but alas, it is not. My number 5 is going to be Legend of Dragoon, actually.
Oh,
Yeah. So I appreciate what they were trying to accomplish with it, and I think for the most part they did. I mean, you can listen to our full thoughts about that on the episode, but I think the addition system, and this is, by the way, this is coming from someone who generally does not like QuickTime events, QTEs. I think the early aughts were a hellscape because everybody wanted to put QTEs in their games, whether we wanted it or not. But I think it works here mostly because it was a very clear attempt to try to make RPG turn-based combat more dynamic and more involved, giving the player more agency in what's happening in real time rather than it being just menu navigation. And so, timing your button presses when the shapes line up to extend your combos, plus also the strategic guarding system that heals you and also halves damage if you pull it off. There's a lot of interactivity, and I really do like that, especially around this era of games and a lot of the contemporaries that were out at the time. So that is why it is kicking off my list.
it's a good pick. I just don't like those kind of battle systems, but I completely understand people who do. I was thinking about it as well, but I mean,
Well, then
solid pick, though.
you're probably not going to like my next pick either.
I'm probably not. Probably not.
Number 4.
All right, my number 4 is the battle system from Saga Frontier, and I say Saga Frontier specifically because it is the one that I have the most amount of experience with. But this battle system, I think, can also apply to Romancing Saga 1 through 3 and Saga Frontier 2, and of course, Romancing Saga Minstrel Song. And that is what I like to call the Glimmer system. I'm sure they have an official name for it. But essentially, what the system does, because I think the Saga series, at least to North American listeners or English speaking listeners, or just Western listeners, is that you go into battle, and when you select an attack, the higher level the enemy is, and the lower level you are, increases the odds of you learning a new move. And so there's all these lists of moves that are dependent upon the kind of weapon you use. So there's a set of moves that you can use if you're using bare fists or using guns or using swords or magic. And guns and swords, at least in Saga Frontier, you learn the ability after the battle. But you still have to use those abilities in the battle in order to learn those abilities afterwards. And it's more procedural in that sense. And these abilities are learned in essentially, I don't want to say real time because it is turn-based, but if you set the attack towards an enemy, when is that character's turn and they are going to learn a new ability, a little light bulb goes above their head and it displays the name of the new ability that doesn't cost any ability points, and then they perform the attack. Now, some of these attacks can be technically weaker at times, but another feature of the battle system is that if you pick certain attacks with each character in Saga Frontier, you can have up to 5, you can do a combo, and you can have up to a 5 combo attack. So you pick the right abilities. These abilities, I don't think they technically have a name, but they kind of combo them, and then it just does more damage, essentially slightly multiplied over what they would do individually. So learning what abilities work together, learning what weapons have what abilities, how to trigger those abilities, what characters are better at learning those abilities than others, and what abilities can combo together to give you special abilities like the Dream Super Combo through the martial arts abilities or fist abilities that characters can learn makes it a very deep and complicated system. On top of the fact that the leveling system and this battle system is kind of coupled into that, where the abilities that you use in battle determine the stats that you increase afterwards. There are no experience points. Everything you do in battle determines the statistics that your characters will gain afterwards. So it's very deep, very complicated. I'm heads over heel in love with the battle system, which keeps me attracted to the Saga series, and that's why I'm in love with it. It's just one of those battle systems that just it's crack once I start playing them. It's a ton of fun.
Well, if you like it so much, why don't you marry it?
Maybe I will.
All right. Well, here's the next one that you may or may not like. I don't know.
Okay.
But my number 4 is Mario and Luigi Dream Team. And
Okay.
I, again, it's pretty heavily like button press timing based. You know, I not quite QTE, but it's basically that. But I think it does it pretty well. It's fairly like forgiving as far as that goes. Like even if you don't hit it right on, like you're still going to do the attack. It probably just won't do as much damage or whatever. But I think what helps a lot is the personality that's just infused in the game, and that bleeds into this combat system as well. There's a lot of very like in-jokey sort of like Mario isms, and it's cool to see like the differences between like the waking world and the dream world, because combat works a little differently in both, where when you're in the waking world, you can kind of do these super powered like duo techniques that are called brothers attacks. But in the dream world, Mario like fuses with Dream Luigi, and then they just launch like a shitload of Lemmings style like Luigi noids at enemies, and that's hilarious and also pretty satisfying. So it's and it just overall like the combat system is fairly like fluid and smooth, so it feels good to play. So yeah, a lot of things that kind of overcome my general disdain for QuickTime events.
I have never played any of the Mario and Luigi games. I want to, but Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door has kind of scared me away from all those games. I know, and a lot of people love that game too. But I do not like that game.
Well, Dream Team is real good, so I would
Okay.
recommend that one.
Okay.
Number 3.
My number 3 is Grandia. You can apply that to Grandia 2 and I think 3, pretty sure 3, and probably Grandia Extreme. And that battle system also kind of returns in Child of Light. So, what is the Grandia battle system? It's essentially like the active time battle system, except you can see everyone moving along a line, and their turn and sequence moving along a line, and that does move in real time. And then once it gets to the action phase, and everyone has their varying speeds depending on their statistics, you can select an action. That action takes time to charge up and to perform, and some actions can cancel the actions of other characters if you time it right. Now, can this make the game too easy? Oh, yes, it definitely can. There's a point that you can get to in the first Grandia that the game just seemingly becomes a cakewalk. You can almost make it through the game without ever taking a hit of damage if you know how to exploit this battle system correctly. It's almost too exploitable. But man, oh man, is it fun. It's a ton of fun just being able to just completely manipulate the system, time your attacks against enemies so they cannot attack, and just feel like an absolute god once you know what you're supposed to do. And again, like one of the most important features of this is that it is fast paced. Also, the characters move around the screen on a map like you would in a real battle, as opposed to being locked on one side of the screen or another. And your character's position and the enemy's position is also critical in making those decisions. Which in the first one is isometric, and the other ones are in a 3D kind of arena area. But yeah, it's in my opinion, it really did kind of inject new life into the JRPG genre at the time, even though there was a very experimental time within JRPGs, because you also had like Valkyrie Profile and the Tales games and Star Ocean 2. But I think this one just really nailed it and solidified a very good system when things were looking to be shaken up a little bit, and take into account the character's position in relation to an enemy and how a character would attack, instead of just doing the turn-based approach. So I love it. I think it's great. Obviously, I do. It's my number 3. So Grandia, there you go.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm taking a left turn into completely different territory now. My number 3 is a personal favorite of mine, and that is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Hmm.
And I like the battle system because it is a real-time and turn-based hybrid sort of affair. You control like up to a party of 3 characters. You can completely and fully customize all 3 of them. So there's a lot of really great strategic things that you can do. You have full control over them in battle as well. And so the battles by default are real time, but you can pause them basically anytime you want, to sort of make some strategic assessments. And then you can queue up several actions like in a chain for each of your characters, and then unpause and kind of let things unfold. Now, that's one way to do it. I know other people do it slightly differently, but that's kind of the beauty of it too, is there's a lot of flexibility there. But I think that sort of hybrid approach works really, really well, because you've still got, the urgency of real-time combat, but you know that you have that ability to hit pause at any moment to like take a breather and make some smart choices. So that, coupled with just the so many different options that you can choose for to kind of kit out your characters. Of course, like all of the force powers are fucking cool. Lightsabers, blasters, vibroblades, all of that stuff. So all of it comes together to make a really satisfying combat system, which also happens to be in a fantastic Star Wars RPG. So it's a win-win.
I thought it was okay. I don't remember what I said about it, but I thought it was okay.
Number 2.
My number 2 is from a game that, even though people, when you bring it up, they say they love, I don't think it gets brought up enough. I don't think it gets enough love. I would love for it to get enough love. I would love to see it get remastered, but it won't, because it's technically a licensed game and there's all sorts of weirdness that goes along with that. But my number 2 is Parasite Eve.
Oh, that's a good pick. I almost had that.
It's so good. It's so good. This is what I think Parasite Eve is kind of like if you take the active time battle system from Final Fantasy 4 through 9, and you take the environmental aspects that go into the Chrono Trigger battle system, and then you can move it around in real time. And this is the evolution of that. It's the combination and evolution of the active time. I don't know if it's active time or active turn. I don't care. Active at the ATB system. And it's your character's position matters. It's a fast system. There's a lot of things you can do, a lot of abilities, and even though you only have one character that's in your party, it doesn't get too actiony. It still feels like an RPG. It still knows its roots. It still makes you feel like you're playing one of those older type games, but it has evolved into the future because of the mitochondria. And so I can say that it is a very underrated battle system that I would like to see more of. I think there's been some Namco or Bandai Namco now Tales of games or associated games. I think that Eternal Sonata did something similar to that, but I don't really have ever gotten the feeling of it being as well executed as it was in Parasite Eve. I adore it. I would love to see another game try to do that. I just I don't know why we haven't seen it again. So yeah, that's my number 2, Parasite Eve.
That is a fantastic pick. And I will also say, in case you haven't seen it, it's not official, in that it's not made by the same folks, but there is a game inspired by Parasite Eve called Parasite Mutant, that will be coming out in 2026. So I think it's going to be doing a lot of the same things that Parasite Eve did.
Hooray, indies.
That's right. Somebody's got to prop the industry
Someone's
up
gotta
with
do
good games.
Yeah. Yeah, and not be nationalized by a Saudi government.
EA Sports. It's in the Middle East.
EA Sports. It's in Riyadh. There you go. Boom.
All right. Well, my penultimate pick is Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. Now, is it the best one? I don't know. Like objectively, I don't know. Maybe not. But it is my personal favorite. And that is because it was actually the first Final Fantasy Tactics game I ever played, and I absolutely adored it. I put so much time into it. This could probably just apply to tactics in general, but I'm using this one specifically because it is a very personal pick for me. But the tile-based strategy combat is just so like well done. It's so engrossing and addictive. You get a ton of character build depth with like class changes, and you have like terrain considerations in each combat encounter. You can figure out good synergies between different character classes like simultaneously on the field. But I think one of the things that really sets the combat system in Advanced apart from the OG, or like I don't think Grimoire of the Rift had this either, but it's the judges. It's a cool addition, in that they are like these sort of omniscient, invincible arbiters that reside over every one of your encounters. Basically are to like ensure that combat is being done in a manner that does not breach any rules or the particular morality of the area in which it resides. The game is sort of like broken up into regions, so each region had different judges, and much like in organized sports, they all have different personalities and different rules that they enforce. Like one time, you might forbid magic, period. Like you just can't use magic during this particular encounter or what have you. And some of them get a lot more like particular than that too. And if you break one of these rules, you might be awarded like a yellow card, or if you severely break the rules, you'll be given a red card. And then that unit's actually just straight up removed from the combat and are put in jail. And then that unit can't be used for like a certain amount of time. So it's like this cool extra sort of like environmental effect thing almost that is a part of basically every one of your encounters. So it kind of helps to break things up a little bit, because I think one of the things that I've heard some people say about other tactics games is like it starts to feel real samey. And I think this goes a pretty decent length to kind of breaking that monotony up a little bit, because there's always something different that you need to like account for, and then deploy the right character classes to kind of like fit the rules. So yeah, Tactics Advanced, my number 2.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised or not surprised to hear that one of the reasons that people do not like Tactics Advanced, if they don't like it, is because of the judgment system specifically, because Tactics did not have that.
Right.
There was no judgment system. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I would probably be more hyped for a Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced collection than the, at this time of recording, recently released remaster of Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a hot take, but I'd rather see those. I just feel Final Fantasy Tactics is a bit too pretentious and far up its ass in terms of its storytelling. Battle system's great, but like
Well, you don't
I
you don't
played
you don't like all the ye old English text?
No, it's just the plot itself. Like, I don't know. That's not something to get into today. But needless to say, I played it again. I'm like, "Oh, this is so tired. Anyway, on to my number one.
Number 1.
Final Fantasy X is my number one. Is my favorite battle system, hands down. I love the fact that you could swap out a party member at any time. I love the fact that it just makes sense. You can see the order of every single attack pattern and upcoming enemy attack that you're going to have. Uh, I Every character can get experience points for just participating in the battle in an equal share. Some people might say that can get a little tedious, and not tedious. And I'm not too inclined to disagree. However, I do like the fact that you can always have all your resources available at any given time, especially with how customizable that game can truly be. It's again, I like the evolution of game mechanics and how things move forward, and I really do think that Final Fantasy X is an evolution of the original turn-based system of Final Fantasy 1 through 3 while incorporating the active time battle system of the other games, whereas each character gets their turn in battle before other ones, and stats more matter a little bit more in terms of that determination of what turn each character is having. It's more towards the original, first three Final Fantasies and traditional turn-based battle. But like statistics do matter a little bit more, where it's not so definitively organized, where you pick all your turns and then they, butt heads, and then you pick all your turns again. It's much more free flowing. I love the tactical ability to think forward and what you want your characters to do and what abilities matter, because they do matter, especially, haste and slow. Uh I think it's the best. Obviously, I think it's the best Final Fantasy battle system ever made. This is my favorite RPG battle system conceived. It's extremely accessible to anyone who hasn't played one before, and I again, this is another battle system I don't think that is discussed enough. But as soon as you bring it up, I think like anyone who's played the game loves to mention how just easy it is to adapt to. So that's my number one, is Final Fantasy X, and I am going to stick with that. So Shane, what is your number one, or do you have anything to say about Final Fantasy X? Because we have been talking about these things.
I mean, no, not really.
Okay,
I think you covered it pretty well.
Final Fantasy X?
Also, no.
Oh, well, that would explain it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have a copy of it. I've never gotten around to actually playing it. So
Everyone has a copy.
one day.
It's like $5. Yeah.
My number one is going to be the least surprising pick on my list, and that is the one and only Dark Souls. I hated this when I first played it.
What?
And if you listened to our episode, then you know that I absolutely despised Dark Souls when I first played it way back in the day. And then I gave it another shot, and it is now one of my favorite franchises ever. I'm not really sure what changed. I couldn't explain it to you. I think something just clicked. But man, the being as necessarily methodical as you have to be, it is a much more tactical approach to a third person RPG than almost anything that really came before it. And I mean, there's a reason that, there's an entire subgenre called Souls likes now. It's because of this game. And I know there's Demon Souls. I know there's going to be someone that's going to say that. Sure. Yes. Also, that one was not nearly as accessible, both in terms of gameplay, but also in terms of just literally getting the fucking game. And it didn't end up having the same widespread appeal. I think there was a lot of things that they learned from Demon Souls that were improved upon for Dark Souls. But at any rate, I just really love how intentional you have to be. Going into it and just trying to play it like a hack and slash, you will get absolutely plastered. You will get destroyed. It is much more about being attentive, paying attention to enemy attack patterns, and once you get those down, it feels really good. It feels real good. And even though I will admit that the control scheme is unique, you do get accustomed to it. And I actually, I mean, I don't have any problem with it at this point now. And I think for the game that it is, in retrospect, I think it actually makes a ton of sense the way that they laid the button configuration out. But yeah, man, I mean, I you know, I talked at length about this in our episode covering the game, but I just, it's one of those things that it can be very divisive, and I know that. It's not necessarily for everyone, and I'm not, I mean, I ironically, you know, tell people to get good or whatever, but I'm not in that camp, like, legitimately. I think that there's some real artistry that went into kind of making this combat dance all come together. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it is, like, unequivocally some of the most satisfying RPG combat I have ever played. So that's why it's my number one.
You picked an action game.
It's an RPG.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the same category as, like, The Witcher. The Witcher is also an RPG.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr.
I mean, most
I'm
people agree
thinking
with
in
you.
terms of JRPGs. That's not what they are. I mean, technically it is, but you know.
Most people do agree with you.
Yep. And I'm sticking
We'll say
with
that.
it.
I know you
You're
are.
just lucky that I didn't put Borderlands on here, because I almost did, because technically that's a first-person RPG.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Think about that one.
When you said unsurprisingly, I thought you were going to say Diablo.
No, you know, I did, obviously that had crossed my mind, but when I think of, like, best combat systems, I mean, like, is it good? Yeah, it's good for what it is, but I didn't feel like it stood out in a way that a lot of my other choices did, in that they were doing something, like, really notable or unique or something like that. I mean, they're just solid action RPG clicky stuff, you know, which is not bad, you know, but didn't really, to me, didn't warrant being on a list of, like, the best combat systems.
I am kind of surprised by Dark Souls. I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Well, I mean, your
That's all I'm gonna
opinion
say.
on what is or isn't an RPG is
I know.
totally fine.
I've already expressed what my opinions were on battle systems, and you have the right to have opinions that are opinions.
There you go.
By the way, the person's opinion in order to get this topic to you today was Keith Gasper from the Main Quest podcast. Thank you, Keith, for recommending the top 5 battle systems. It's insane that I looked at when he recommended it, and it was from 2022.
Oh, wow.
So that's how deep the bench is for our top 5 nominations. So it's crazy. But if you would like to contribute topics and vote on topics for the flight, you can go ahead and join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Yes, some things out there in the world are just $1. It's hard to believe it, but it is. And if you can't afford that, and, you know, a crazy economy, I fully understand. You can just head on over there. You can join the free tier, because WRHP is starting to show up there for the free tier. So if you want to listen to a radio show of sorts and get some music that the community nominated, hey, it's there. But go check that out if you want to contribute to our show. That's an opportunity to do it. This show is completely driven by fans in terms of what is nominated and what is voted on. So go ahead and check that out if that interests you.
All right. Well, Chris has already started part of the pitch for me, which I appreciate. The rest of it is like all our other goodies and stuff. If for some reason you don't know, I mean, this is technically our off week show with our top 5s. On the other weeks, We have our main episodes, which are covering individual games or occasionally consoles, and I think once in the history of the show, an industry figure, which I'd like to do more of those at some point. But
Yeah.
like that, and our socials and our merch store and our Twitch and YouTube and all the goodies, they're in one place. So you just got to go to our link tree, which happens to be linktree/retro hangover, which is linktr.ee/retro hangover. So go there and find stuff. And that's all I got, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, I think I said enough earlier. So I guess it's time to just let this one go.
Well, in that case, until the next flight.
Play with your turn-based role-playing joysticks. Arrgh.